Do whatever you want. Your court, your rules. I'm only here because they dragged me.
Oh, trust me, nobody had to drag you here. Your attitude walked in first.
Oh, please, Judge, spare me the attitude. I'm not here to babysit your temper.
The courtroom lights buzzed quietly above as the cameras snapped into position, but nothing in that studio could have prepared anyone for the storm about to unfold. It started with a single sentence, sharp, disrespectful, unbelievable, and by the time it left the defendant's mouth, every person present felt the temperature of the room collapse into a dangerous chill. Her name was Brenda Marlowe, a 360-pound woman in her early 50s with a track record that stretched across 6 long years of calculated, predatory litigation. She had terrorized small business owners like a one-woman wrecking crew, filing lawsuit after lawsuit with the confidence of someone who believed consequences were for other people, not her. She sat in the defendant's chair with the smug posture of a self-proclaimed victim who had perfected the art of weaponizing sympathy, but arrogance always cracks somewhere. And for Brenda, the crack began with a grotesque attempt to belittle the woman sitting on the bench. Maybe you should control your hormones? Judge, she sneered, raising one manicured hand like she was lecturing a misbehaving child. You're blowing this out of proportion? Overreaction is normal for women your age. Emotional, unstable, unable to handle pressure. The air died instantly. It wasn't silence, it was a void. A vacuum that sucked out breath, warmth, and sanity from every corner of the room. People glanced at each other with widened eyes. Even the cameramen, hardened by years of dramatic courtroom television, froze like statues. Everyone knew the moment was historic the second it happened. Everyone knew this clip would go viral before the episode even aired. But no one, not even Brenda, understood just how devastating the next 30 seconds of her life were about to become, because Judge Judith Stanton wasn't just another television judge. She wasn't someone who tolerated disrespect. In this particular case, this defendant was not just another file on her desk. For the first time in months, Judge Stanton had walked into the courtroom with a personal mission. Behind her composed expression was a week of intense preparation, late-night calls, and a stack of evidence so damning it could bury a career criminal. No one knew, not even the audience, that the judge had been quietly working with federal investigators, the IRS, and a victims advocacy network to connect a pattern spanning 4 states. Brenda thought she was here to intimidate another small business owner. She thought she would snatch another settlement. She thought this would be lawsuit number 48 easy money. Just like the last 47. She had no idea she was walking straight into a trap. But before we reach that moment, the instant where Judge Stanton detonates Brenda's 6-year empire of deception, you need to understand how deeply the scam was rooted. Brenda had created an industry out of victimhood. She played disability, discrimination, emotional trauma, whatever narrative gave her the highest payout. She targeted immigrant business owners, the ones who couldn't afford long legal battles or reputational damage. She exploited fear, confusion, and vulnerability with surgical precision. Her latest target was Lena Choi, a Korean immigrant who had spent 15 years saving for a luxury wellness spa she named Serenity Haven. Lena was quiet, diligent, perceptive, and honest to a painful degree. She believed in fairness, kindness, and treating every customer with respect. The spa was her dream, a dream she built dollar by dollar, sacrifice by sacrifice, and Brenda saw it as a perfect opportunity. She researched the spa weeks before booking an appointment. She Googled weight limits for professional spa tables. She memorized ADA phrases. She planned her outrage. She even charged her hidden camera the night before and rehearsed lines in the mirror, like an actress preparing for a role she'd been born to play. When she entered the spa that afternoon, she already knew exactly what would happen. She asked for a full-body table massage, the most weight-sensitive service offered. Lena calmly and politely explained that the tables were rated for 350 pounds, a safety limitation, not discrimination. She immediately offered alternate services, that Brenda wasn't there for a massage. She was there for footage. She was there to create a crisis she could later spin into cash. She stormed out with fake tears and real malice. then set her machine into motion. Within 24 hours, she filed a lawsuit. Within 48 hours, one-star reviews flooded every platform. Within a week, local news replayed her edited video, portraying her as a victim of weight-based cruelty. Lena's business plummeted. Clients canceled. Vendors hesitated. Her savings drained into legal fees, investigations, paperwork, and endless anxiety. For months, she cried silently during lunch breaks, wondering why life punished people who tried so hard to do things the right way. Most people would have broken. Most of Brenda's victims had, but not Lena. Not this time. Instead of folding under pressure, she started digging. And what she found was a spiderweb of lawsuits, dozens of business owners who had been manipulated, cornered, and emotionally destroyed by the same woman. She contacted them. She listened to their stories. She documented everything. She hired a private investigator who recorded Brenda walking effortlessly, carrying heavy shopping bags, living a perfectly mobile life despite claiming disability in every lawsuit. He captured hours of footage showing the truth. Then almost miraculously, her case landed in Judge Stanton's hands, and once the judge saw the pattern, once she saw the footage, once she heard the stories of broken small business owners, she made a decision. This would be the case that ended Brenda's entire scheme. So when Brenda rolled into the courtroom on her mobility scooter, fake disability, fake victimhood, fake dignity, Judge Stanton already knew everything. She knew the truth. She knew the lies. She knew the fraud, and she had prepared something Brenda had never faced before. Real consequences. The cameras rolled. The audience waited. And then from the defendant's own arrogance came the spark that would ignite her downfall. Calm your hormones. Judge. It was over the second she said it. She just didn't know it yet. The courtroom fell into a tense silence, the kind that sits heavy in the air when everyone senses a storm coming. Judge Judith's gaze stayed fixed on Aurora, but now there was something new behind it. Not anger, not irritation. Something closer to curiosity mixed with caution. As if she had started to see cracks in the girl's arrogance, Aurora shifted uncomfortably. For the first time since she walked in, her confidence wavered. She clutched the strap of her expensive designer bag tighter, her lips trembling just slightly, an almost invisible sign that she was losing the armor she had walked in with. Ms. Aurora, Judge Judith said slowly, people don't behave like this unless something is very wrong. So let me ask you again, and this time, with the truth. What are you so afraid of? Aurora didn't answer. She stared down at the floor, jaw tight. Her father, Senator Raymond Hawley, leaned forward, whispering urgently, Aurora, for God's sake, answer her. Don't make this worse. But Aurora jerked away from him, crossing her arms. I don't owe anyone anything. Judge Judith raised a brow. You owe the truth. Especially when you stand in front of a court you disrespected. The girl swallowed hard. You think you know everything just because you're you, her voice cracked. But you don't know what my life is like. And what is your life like? The judge asked, surprising everyone with the softness in her tone. Aurora hesitated long enough that even the cameras would catch the tension in her eyes. She opened her mouth to speak, but the courtroom door suddenly swung open. A tall woman in official uniform entered, someone nobody recognized at first glance. The bailiff stepped toward her. Ma'am, court is in session. You cannot just— Yes, I can, the woman said firmly, her voice carrying authority. I'm Detective Clara Monroe, Major Crimes Division. I need to speak with the judge immediately. It concerns the witness. She pointed straight at Aurora. Her, every head turned. Aurora froze like a deer caught between headlights. The judge's voice remained steady, but the tension in her posture betrayed her concern. Detective Monroe, approach. The detective handed a sealed envelope to the judge. This is urgent. We did not know Ms. Aurora would be in your courtroom today, but new evidence came in this morning connected to an open case we've been working. Senator Hawley shot up. What case? What evidence? My daughter has done nothing wrong. The detective's eyes didn't flinch. With respect, Senator, you're wrong. Aurora's breathing quickened. Panic flickered across her face. She looked like someone fighting an internal war, a mix of guilt, fear, and something darker. Judge Judith opened the envelope silently. Her eyes scanned the contents, and the courtroom felt like it collectively stopped breathing. Finally, she looked up at Aurora, expression unreadable. "Ms. Aurora," she said quietly, "it seems we have far more to discuss than simple disrespect." Aurora shook her head rapidly. No, this isn't fair. I didn't mean for any of that to happen." Her father grabbed her arm. "Aurora, what did you do?" "I didn't do anything," she screamed, but her voice was cracked, broken, desperate. "I swear, I didn't mean to hurt her." The words slipped out before she realized what she confessed. Ripple shock spread through the courtroom. Judge Judith's voice dropped to a grave stillness. "Hurt who, Aurora?" Aurora's lips trembled. She stepped back, tears finally breaking free. Please don't make me say it." Detective Monroe took one step forward. "Aurora Halle, you need to tell the court everything. Because the girl you were involved with, she is still missing?" Gasps erupted. Judge Judith leaned forward. "Aurora, what do you know about the disappearance of Lila Thompson?" Aurora's face drained of color. Her entire body shook out. She whispered, voice barely audible, "I didn't mean for her to vanish." And then she collapsed to the floor, sobbing as the courtroom erupted into chaos. For several seconds, the entire courtroom felt frozen in time. Aurora remained on the floor, curled in on herself, sobbing in a way that didn't resemble the entitled girl who had strutted in earlier. These were the raw, uncontrollable cries of someone who had been holding a secret far too heavy for her shoulders. Judge Judith steadied her voice. "Bailiff, help Ms. Aurora to her seat." But Aurora shook her head violently. No, please. I can't look at anyone." Her voice trembled, cracking under the weight of her fear. The detective approached cautiously, lowering her voice. "Aurora, listen to me. Lila's family has been searching for her for weeks. If you know anything at all, you must tell us." Senator Halle knelt beside his daughter, his face drained of all political confidence. "Aurora, sweetheart, why didn't you say something? What happened that night?" Aurora's hands gripped her father's suit sleeve tightly, like she was drowning and he was the only thing keeping her afloat. "Dad, I didn't want you to hate me." Judge Judith's expression softened, but her voice remained firm. "No one hates you, but hiding the truth won't protect you. It will only make things worse." Aurora slowly lifted her head. Her mascara streaked down her cheeks, her eyes red and unfocused. "I didn't mean for any of this. I didn't mean for her to get hurt. I thought she just needed space." Detective Monroe crouched down so they were eye level. "Aurora, let's start from the beginning. What happened the last time you saw Lila Thompson?" The courtroom quieted, everyone leaning in subconsciously. Aurora wiped her nose with the back of her trembling hand. We were at the lake house. My friends were there. Everyone was drinking. Lila didn't want to be there, but I begged her to come because..." She paused, a painful confession caught in her throat. "Because I didn't want to be alone." Senator Hale's eyes widened. "You were at the lake house?" "Aurora, you told me I lied." She burst out. "I lied because you never let me do anything. You never let me have friends or a normal night. You controlled everything and I was tired of it." The senator recoiled, stunned into silence. Aurora took a shaky breath. Lila wasn't feeling well. She kept saying she wanted to go home. She begged me to leave with her, but I was drunk and angry and embarrassed. I told her she was ruining everything. I told her she was too clingy. And then, her voice cracked. And then she walked out. Detective Monroe's jaw tightened. "Walked out where?" "Into the woods," Aurora whispered. "Toward the lake." Judge Judith leaned forward. "Did you follow her?" Aurora shook her head. Tears spilled down again. "No, I thought she just needed to calm down. I thought she'd come back. But when I went to find her later, she was gone. Her phone was on the dock. Her shoes too. The detective stood abruptly, urgency flashing in her eyes. And you didn't report this? I was scared. Aurora cried. I thought if people found out we were drinking, if people knew she left because of me, I thought they'd blame me. And Dad? She glanced at the senator with a pained expression. Dad would ruin everything trying to cover it up. I didn't want another scandal. Senator Howell closed his eyes, guilt washing over him. Then Aurora whispered something that sent a chill through the room. There was someone else there. Detective Monroe froze mid-step. Who? Aurora's breath hitched. I don't know his name. I've seen him once before around the lake house, always watching from the trees. I thought it was just a neighbor. But that night, I saw a flashlight moving in the woods. I thought it was Lila, but now, she shook her head. Now I'm not sure. The detective turned sharply toward the judge. Your Honor, this changes everything. We need a full search of the lake area, immediately. Judge Judith nodded. You have my authorization? Aurora clung to the stand, trembling. Please find her. I never wanted her to disappear. She's my best friend. She's the only one who ever cared about me. The judge's voice softened. Then help us find her. Tell the truth. Aurora nodded, overcome with emotion. But as the detective rushed out, Senator Hale's phone buzzed loudly on the table. It vibrated once, twice, then lit up with a message. He glanced at the screen and his entire face turned white. Judge Judith noticed immediately. Senator Hall, is something wrong? He swallowed and looked up slowly. The search teams? They already found something at the lake. Aurora gasped. What? What did they find? Senator Hale's hands shook as he read the final line of the message. They found Lila's pendant and blood on the dock. Aurora screamed, and the courtroom fell into stunned silence once again. Aurora's scream echoed so sharply through the courtroom that even the seasoned officers flinched. She stumbled backward, knocking over her chair as she collapsed against the wooden railing, shaking uncontrollably. No, this can't be happening, she whispered, her voice cracking under unbearable pressure. Lila can't be hurt. She promised she'd never leave me. Judge Judith lifted a hand, signaling for calm, but even her steady presence couldn't quiet the storm building inside the room. The crowd murmured anxiously as Aurora's sobs filled the silence. Aurora, the judge said gently but firmly, you must remain calm. Nothing is confirmed yet. But Aurora was inconsolable, gasping for breath. Her pendant her mom gave her that she never took it off. And blood. She covered her ears. No, please stop. Senator Hall pulled his daughter close, but she recoiled. For the first time, he seemed entirely powerless, stripped of the influence that usually surrounded him like armor. Sweetheart, listen to me. No. She pushed him away, eyes wild with fear. You don't understand. This is my fault. If I hadn't forced her to come, if I hadn't yelled at her, she would be safe. Detective Monroe returned just then, breathless, her expression sharp with new urgency. Your Honor, the search teams need Aurora immediately. We believe she's the last person who saw the exact direction Lila went. Judge Judith nodded. Aurora, can you identify where Lila walked into the woods? Aurora wiped her shaking hands on her shirt. Why, yes. I remember. But, her voice lowered to a trembling whisper, there was someone else there. I know I saw someone. Detective Monroe exchanged a tense glance with another officer. We need you to describe him. Aurora squeezed her eyes shut, digging through her memory. Tall, maybe 6 feet. Wore a hood. Dark clothes. I thought he was a neighbor, but I never saw his face clearly. He always stayed in the shadows. The detective's expression hardened. Aurora, that could be our suspect. Judge Judith leaned forward. Why didn't you report seeing him earlier? Aurora bit her lip until it bled. I didn't think he mattered then. And I was scared. Everything I do ends up in the news. I just wanted it all to go away. The judge sighed, the kind of sigh only someone who has seen too many tragedies can make. Truth has a way of surfacing, Aurora. Now that it has, you must face it. A sudden movement in the courtroom caught everyone's attention. A woman then, exhausted, clutching a wrinkled photo, stood shakily from the gallery. It was Lila Thompson's mother. Her voice trembled as she called out, "Aurora." Aurora gasped softly, eyes widening. Mrs. Thompson stepped forward, tears spilling freely. Please tell me the truth. Did you see my daughter that night? Did she say anything? Anything at all?" Aurora's face crumpled in guilt. She struggled to speak. She was upset. She said she was scared. She said she didn't trust the people at the party. She wanted to go home. Her voice broke entirely. "I should have taken her home. I should have protected her." Mrs. Thompson covered her mouth with her hands, choking back a cry. "My baby." Judge Judith immediately intervened. "Mrs. Thompson, please step back. I understand your pain, but we must follow procedures." But the grieving mother shook her head. "No, I need to hear her. I need to know what happened to my little girl." Aurora slid off her seat and fell to her knees in front of Mrs. Thompson, sobbing so uncontrollably she could barely form words. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I never meant for any of this. She was all I had." Mrs. Thompson trembled, torn between rage and heartbreak. Detective Monroe gently stepped in. "Aurora, we have search teams waiting. The more information you give now, the faster we can bring answers." Aurora nodded, wiping tears with the back of her trembling hands. "I'll show you. I'll take you there. I'll help, just please. Please find her." As Aurora stood unsteadily, preparing to leave with the officers, Judge Judith spoke with a firm but compassionate tone. "Aurora, listen to me closely. Running from the truth brought you here, but facing it might save your friend." Aurora nodded weakly. "I'll do whatever it takes." But as the officers escorted her toward the door, it suddenly swung open again, and a young deputy rushed in, pale and out of breath. "Detective Monroe." "Judge, we just received new information from the search team." Aurora froze mid-step. Everyone turned. The deputy swallowed hard. They found footprints. 2 sets. One matches Aurora's. The second is unidentified. Judge Judith's eyes narrowed. "Where do the footprints lead?" The deputy exhaled shakily. "To an old, abandoned boathouse, and the door was found forced open." Detective Monroe stiffened. "Is someone inside?" The deputy nodded. Double quotes, "We believe so." And the team reported hearing movement. Aurora's breath caught in her throat. Mrs. Thompson whispered, "Oh God." Judge Judith's voice cut through the tension. "Detective, take Aurora. Time is running out." Aurora stared ahead, terror and hope clashing violently inside her eyes, because whoever was inside that boathouse, it could be Lila or her captor, or worse, asterisk. The wind outside the courthouse whipped cold against Aurora's face as officers rushed her into the detective's vehicle. The sky had turned a bruised gray, as if the world itself sensed the tension tightening around the lake. Aurora's hands trembled in her lap, her mind replaying every moment from that night in agonizing loops. Detective Monroe sat beside her in the back seat, observing her closely. "Aurora, listen to me. The boathouse is less than 15 minutes away. When we get there, I need you calm and clear. Lives may depend on it." Aurora swallowed hard, nodding even though her heart hammered painfully against her ribs. "If Lila is in there? If she's alive?" Her voice cracked. "Please let her be alive." The convoy of police vehicles sped through the pine-lined roads until the lake finally appeared through the trees, its once serene surface now churning with the wind. Aurora stared out the window, remembering how she and Lila used to sit on the dock, legs dangling, whispering secrets into the night. The memory stabbed at her with guilt. As the vehicles pulled up near the boathouse trail, officers immediately fanned out, weapons drawn, flashlights cutting through the shadows. The boathouse stood at the edge of the lake, a weathered, lonely structure half swallowed by creeping vines. Its door hung crooked, forced open just as the deputy had reported. Detective Monroe looked at Aurora. "Stay behind me. Stay quiet. And don't run ahead, no matter what you hear." "Understood?" Aurora nodded, though fear threatened to collapse her knees. They approached the boathouse slowly, Footsteps crunching on the damp leaves. Every sound felt amplified, branches creaking, the distant splash of water. Aurora's shaky breaths. An officer signaled silently. Movement inside. Detective. Monroe tightened her grip on her flashlight. Aurora, stay here. But Aurora grabbed her arm. Please. If she's hurt, I need to be there. Lila trusts me. The detective hesitated, then whispered, stay close. One step behind me. They entered. The air inside the boathouse was damp, thick with the smell of mildew and old wood. Light filtered weakly through cracks in the walls. Shadows danced as officers swept the room with flashlights. Clear left. Clear right. Detective Monroe moved deeper, her footsteps careful. Check the back area. In the corner of the boathouse, behind a stack of overturned crates, something shifted. Aurora gasped. Detective Monroe raised her gun. Show your hands. Step out where I can see you. Silence, then a faint whimper, not a man's, a girl's. Aurora broke past the detective before anyone could stop her. Lila. Aurora, stop. Monroe hissed, but it was too late. Aurora sprinted around the crates and froze. There she was. Lila. Alive. Barely. She sat on the floor, her wrists tied loosely with rope that looked hastily cut. Her hair was tangled, her face streaked with dirt and dried tears. She flinched at the sudden light, lifting a trembling hand to shield her eyes. Aurora? Lila whispered, voice hoarse from days without rest. Aurora dropped to her knees with a sob, pulling her into a desperate embrace. Lila, oh my God, Lila, I thought I lost you. Lila clung to her weakly. I tried to get back to you. I fell near the lake. Someone grabbed me, dragged me here. Detective Monroe rushed forward and signaled paramedics waiting outside. She's alive. Get medics in here now. But just as relief swept over the room, a loud crack echoed from behind the far wall. Every officer tensed instantly. Aurora, get behind me. Monroe ordered. Another noise, something scraping against the floorboards. Someone else is here. An officer whispered. Aurora's heart seized. The man. The one I saw. He's here. Officers moved in formation, weapons raised, approaching a small storage door near the back. The door rattled violently, something pushing from inside. Come out with your hands up. Monroe shouted. The door suddenly burst open. A figure stumbled out, thin, wild-eyed, clothes soaked, hair matted. Not a burly monster, not a towering threat. A young man, barely older than Aurora. He blinked furiously against the flashlights, raising both hands. Stop, I'm not armed. Officers tackled him, securing him quickly. Aurora stared, breathless. I've seen him. That's the man from the woods. The young man struggled, panic in his voice. Wait, you don't understand. I didn't take her. I found her. Detective Monroe narrowed her eyes. Explain now. The boy's chest rose and fell rapidly. She fell near the lake. I heard her scream. When I got there, she was unconscious. She was freezing, soaked. I carried her to the boathouse because I didn't have a phone. I left to find help, but a storm hit, Lila whispered weakly. He tried to help me. Aurora turned to her, confused. But why didn't you leave? Why didn't you get out of here? The boy looked down, ashamed. When I came back, she was hallucinating, terrified. She kept begging me not to leave her alone in the dark. So I stayed. But every time I tried to go for help, she panicked. Lila wiped her eyes, her voice shaking. He wasn't hurting me, Aurora. He saved me. I misunderstood everything. Detective Monroe processed the story quickly, professionalism steady. Then why didn't you come forward when her disappearance hit the news? I live off-grid, he said quietly. I didn't know. I don't have TV, phone, anything. I just tried to keep her alive. Officers exchanged glances. The boy wasn't a captor. He was a rescuer. Aurora's legs nearly buckled as the truth settled over her. Everything she feared, everything she blamed herself for, was not what it seemed. Lila reached for her, gripping her hand weakly. Aurora, you didn't hurt me. You didn't make me disappear. You fought with me, yes. But you didn't abandon me. Something happened in those woods. I slipped. I hit my head. The rest is blurry. Aurora sobbed, relief shaking through her body. Lila, I'm so sorry. For everything. For yelling. For letting you walk out alone. Lila's eyes softened. You didn't let me. I chose to. We both made mistakes. Paramedics lifted Lila gently onto a stretcher. She held Aurora's hand until the last possible second dot as they carried her out. Aurora stood trembling beside Detective Monroe. Is she going to be okay? She whispered. If her vitals are stable, she has a strong chance, Monroe said. You helped us find her in time. Aurora exhaled shakily, the weight of days of guilt crashing down into a single, overwhelming sob. Thank God. Thank God she's alive. Asterisk back at the courthouse hours later, Judge Judith reconvened briefly to address the chaos of the day. Aurora stood before her once more, this time not as a disrespectful, arrogant girl, but as someone who had finally stepped into truth. Judge Judith regarded her with a steady, measured gaze. Aurora, she said, you made mistakes. Serious ones. But you also helped save your friend's life today. That does not erase the consequences of your actions, but it does show growth. Aurora nodded, eyes humble. I understand. I'll face whatever comes. The judge leaned forward slightly. Good, because true strength isn't in avoiding the truth, but in owning it. The courtroom was quiet. For the first time in her life, Aurora Hall didn't hide. She didn't argue. She didn't pretend that. She simply stood tall. And as she left the courtroom, she saw Lila's mother waiting by the door. The woman approached her, tears glistening in her eyes. Asterisk. Thank you, she whispered softly. Aurora broke down. I'm so sorry. Mrs. Thompson pulled her into a trembling hug. She's alive. That's what matters. And for Aurora, for the first time in a long time, something inside her finally broke free. The weight began to lift. The truth had nearly destroyed her, but it had also saved them both.